This is actually starting to feel a bit dodgy now. I wouldn't mind a Formula 1 car to get me out of here. Look at that, you don't want to fall down there. No. That was good. Hello, welcome to Spanish Armada Square, Plaza de la Marra Española. We're here in Valencia, down by the port, and we're going to go check out something else Spanish and extinct as well. We're going to go see the old Formula 1 circuit here in Valencia, because I love two things in life. I love abandoned places and I love Formula 1, and Alex loves those two things less, but he's going to come with me.
Yeah, and I like them more in the other order.
But first we're going to enjoy a coffee and a calamari baguette like you do at 12:30 in the afternoon in Spain. So here was the pit lane exit. Look, you can see the way this curb is here. It was too dangerous to come onto the track at turn 1, so they came in after turn 1. And now it's just normal cars.
When was the last time the Valencia Grand Prix took place?
Well, it was actually in 2012. They only ever had 5 races there. The first one was in 2008. Alonso won the World Championship in 2005 and 2006. And he narrowly lost out to Kimi Räikkönen in 2007. And so they decided to have 2 races in Spain. So they had one up the coast in Barcelona and then one here. But instead of going to the Valencia permanent circuit at Ricciardo Tormo, just outside the city, they came here to the streets of the port for some reason, on a track which really was not designed with overtaking in mind. The last year that they did it, 2012, Fernando Alonso actually won it for the first time. It was a really good race. Alonso started 11th on the grid and somehow came through. I think there was a safety car and a few strategical things which made him win the race, and it was the best race that they had, and then they took it off the calendar. But yeah, it was a bit of a crap circuit really. Nobody liked it, and nobody really misses it on the Formula 1 calendar. Nobody wants it back. That back guy, give him a job. I reckon this is the back of where the pit lane was. Right, look, you can see this like coloured tarmac here, and it's got Allianz written on the floor. That was I guess the sponsor of the race, and the pits would have been here at this old, what looks like a fish market, I think. It's a bit strange really seeing a disused pit lane like this. You can see tyre marks still there from the Pirelli rubber all of those years ago, back in 2012. Down this end of the pit lane you would have had some of the rubbish teams, like I think there was Marussia and Caterham and the Hispania racing team, who don't exist anymore. Really rubbish teams. Then of course up at the sharp end you would have had Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, all of the big teams, Williams, McLaren of course as well. And now where the circuit was, there's a car park. Amazing that it's still here really, it's just kind of been left. The tarmac markings, nobody's paid to take them away. But there's no sign that it used to be here apart from the obvious markings. There's nothing like commemorating that this used to be a Formula 1 pit lane. And why might that be? Well, the race was a real failure. And now they're trying to do a project of rehabilitating the area using European Regional Development Funds. Over €1 billion apparently. Wow, a lot of money. Actually, that's €1 million. I can't read Spanish dots and stuff. And here's a member of the pit crew. Alex, you were telling me that actually the Formula 1 race here was quite controversial.
Because Valencian people, I don't think they were too keen on having the race down and near the port and near the beach area.
Yeah, I guess it would like block up the roads a little bit and stuff, but what I've heard as well is there was quite a bit of corruption going on behind the scenes, and it was also really expensive to host, obviously, a street circuit, closing the roads, putting up temporary grandstands, all of that kind of thing. And so it cost more money to host than they would make from it. Tickets for Formula 1 are really expensive. You're talking about hundreds of euros. You might pay 500, 600 euro for a weekend ticket. Stay at home and watch it on TV like I do. I mean, seriously, when you look back, it was a bonkers idea. Why would a city like Valencia, you know, a quite famous city, but the 3rd biggest in Spain, why did they have a Formula 1 race? There's only, what, 20 races a season, something like that? Why put one here? And this is the harbour, which the track encircled. Pretty nice, to be honest. Nowhere near as close as they are at Monaco to the harbour, of course. At Monaco, in theory, the car could take off and go in the water. You don't want that. So it's one of the only real overtaking opportunities on the track, a 90-degree sharp corner. You can still see the painted curbs. These weren't even really curbs, they're just the same bits of tarmac really. So a criticism of the track was that it was so flat. Obviously being around a port there's no elevation change, so the driver said that it was a bit boring to drive as well. And now You get skaters around here. And bicyclists. Another criticism of the race as well was that it was held in the heat of August, right in the high summer, when in Spain here it might be 30, 35, even 40 degrees during the day. Who's going to want to sit in a grandstand watching that in the baking sun when they could be at home in their cool house watching it on TV? Down here on the apex of Turn 4, there's now a Food and Agriculture Organisation for the United Nations. You can see the Union Bank of Switzerland were sponsoring the race, and it's still here. Free advertising for UBS forever, it seems. Alex is doing his racing lines. He's blocking me. Here, the markings from the track just disappear. Alex was just telling me that when he signed up to be self-employed, he had to go to this office at the outside of Turn 5 to sign all the paperwork. And something else I didn't like about the Valencia Formula 1 track as well is all the corners were just numbers. I like it when you talk about Silverstone or Spa-Francorchamps, these circuits, they have these evocative names. You think of Spa, you think of Eau Rouge and the Piff Paff. Or if you think of Silverstone, you think of Copse Corner, the Hanger Straight, the Vale Chicane. All these cool names, maybe named after famous races from the past. The Cenareses at Interlagos, for example. And then you came here and it was just, oh, Turn 1, Turn 2, Turn 3, Turn 4. So this is Turn 6, it was just a kink. And here are the big old flags, which you might remember from the TV coverage. They always showed these two massive flags glittering away on the hottest day in the history of Spain. On the left here, you've got the flag of the Valencian community, and on the right, of course, the flag of Spain. And what you might not have known is, just a few meters away from the circuit, there was Valencia's city beach. Now we're on the outside of the long sweeping Turn 7. Yep, it's the Marina Beach Club. Look, we're just on the run down to Turn 8 now, and there's a football pitch here. The main road's just there. This is where the Formula 1 track separates off. You've got a nice little five-a-side football or basketball court. Another painted curb on the approach to Turn 8. Now with these lovely flower beds where a Formula 1 circuit used to be. The apex of Turn 8. There was a right, then a left here onto the bridge, and it looks like the bridge is closed, so I'm going to have to walk round to see the other half of the circuit. Bit of a shame really, I was hoping to go over the bridge. Probably the most remarkable feature of the circuit. At the moment it's closed, but they would swing out and connect in order to make the circuit join up. And the cars would actually go across this bridge, you know, quite impressive. People fishing down by the old Formula 1 circuit. This was a very narrow point of the circuit. It wasn't very good for overtaking, particularly over the bridge, over the harbour. And there's these guys just climbing around the wall, being a bit cheeky. Hello. I'll meet you back there on the other side and we'll walk the rest of the circuit. So here is a good angle of the harbour bridge. You imagine Formula 1 cars going across this piece of water. This is the curb at Turn 10. Actually seems to be made out of metal. Wow, it's not often you see Formula 1 cars running over metal. Then you come out of Turn 10 and you got Turn 11, a long sweeping left-hander onto a straight. And you can kind of see why it was so difficult to overtake on this circuit, because the straights aren't really straight, they're quite wobbly. See the circuit running along the harbour just here. Would have been very dangerous without any barriers, but of course there were barriers all the way along here to stop the cars crashing into the water. At the end of that long straight, we got Turn 12 here, 13, and then 14. It's kind of like a triple chicane complex. And this is most famous for in 2010, when Mark Webber came up behind, I think it was Heikki Kovalainen in one of the Caterhams, or Lotus as they were called back then, I think, and flew right over the car, and you can actually see this Tinglado, this kind of disused port area station thing in the background. And he flies over the car, does a flip in the air just here, and then ends up in the barrier over there, which obviously isn't there now. You see more advertising around the edge. Santander, the bank, was Fernando Alonso's big backer at the time, and obviously they paid a lot of sponsorship for this race. Here we go, turn 13 now leads onto this kind of roundabout thing. You can see back over there the pit straight as well, so there was actually this very narrow part of the track where basically you're halfway around the lap already, but you're really near the other side of the circuit. I can see why it wasn't a particular favourite for the spectators. Wasn't very easy to walk around. Very much a grandstand event rather than a pitch your tent up and walk around a kind of Formula One race. Especially in the heat of August, could you imagine? Here is the old turn 14. Hopefully you can see just down here, there's this kind of like blacked out marking, but you can see it's a little bit different. And this used to be the track limits of the Formula One circuit. And I think this is the really cool part coming up now. What was kind of meant to be the permanent part of the circuit. Let's go and have a look. Right, so turn 14. And now we come down to what I guess you might be able to kind of call the back straight. And look at this, this really is a wasteland, this part, look. Old crash barriers, just left behind from the last race back in 2012. This is the part which wasn't a public road, which they built specifically for the race, I'm led to believe. Here I am out on the curbs. It's amazing how they just rust or fall into disrepair so quickly. Less than 9 years after the last race. What's quite cool is I'm doing this on the Thursday when the drivers traditionally do their track walk. And actually it's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix on another similar kind of street circuit to this. So here I am on one of the old circuits doing my track walk while Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, all of that lot, Sebastian Vettel are doing their own track walks, having a look round. Although I think Lewis and Max don't do track walks anymore. They said they're too lazy. They're too focused on the championship fight to have a look at the track, which personally I find a bit strange, because you should want to know, like, oh, has this curb changed? Has that? Oh, look, some underwear on the Formula One track. I bet you don't see that on the Formula One track walk in Baku. And I know earlier I said that there was barely any elevation change at this circuit, but actually here there's a slight change. You're going uphill a little bit here. And like I said earlier, look, the straights aren't really straight, which is why it was quite difficult to overtake at this circuit. It's really quite strange, a bit apocalyptic almost. I mean, I love Formula One, and seeing one of the circuits that the cars used to race around, even though it was one of the more rubbish tracks, fallen into a state of disrepair like this is quite sad. They could have done something with it, you know. Some guy over there looking at the rubbish. Oh, cool, look at this. Somebody's tried to do their own Valencia Grand Prix using a Scalextric on the circuit. Why not? They just left it here to rust. Wow, it's weird just thinking my racing hero Lewis Hamilton used to speed through these streets. And now look, there's a seagull. It's so weird to see this kind of just left to rot on the outskirts of the city. You can see over there up ahead of me, part of the modern part of town, where they put in an aquarium and a science museum and like one of these 3D cinema things. More sponsor hoardings, never moved. I mean, mismanagement, you know, you can kind of almost forgive. They thought that they would be able to make money on the race and they didn't. But then not cleaning up after yourself, it's a bit shameful really, isn't it? I can't see anybody, but there's definitely like some clothes hanging out. Oh yes, I can see somebody. Wow. I'm guessing these seats here were not used at the race. A nice bit of fly tipping in Spain's third biggest city, at the old Formula One circuit. Wow, look, I think somebody actually lives here, look. It's like they've just gathered whatever they can to make the walls of their house. I mean, is this really Europe? That's not good, you don't want to fall down there. It was really quite a badly designed circuit. Look at the way the track doesn't really line up on either side, creating corners which don't need to be there. This is apparently two different corners. Really, it's a straight. People complain about lots of the modern Formula One circuits, that it's just straight line and braking. But at least there's overtaking there. There wasn't here. The cars had V8 engines rather than the V6 hybrids they have now, so they were a lot louder. You can imagine it would have been very loud for the residents of these buildings for a whole weekend every year. Turn 17 now, we're on the apex. See another little community built up on the outside of turn 17. I'm also struggling to understand why they didn't make this surface a bit wider. There's loads of space. Would have been a bit better for overtaking. Wow, look at these. These holes, God, I wouldn't want to walk around here at night. Look at that, you don't want to fall down there. I guess thieves have stripped whatever was left of value. I'm not sure why nobody's come to pick up these curbs, for example. Might take one home in my hand luggage with me, why not? Another little family built up on the outside of turn 18. Got a little table, some wires, little bed. Seems to be nobody around. Smashed television. Maybe once used to watch this race on. And socks. So there we go, the exit of turn 17 down to turn 18 here. Now heading down to turn 19. Feels really silly just calling the corners by numbers, but like I said, I didn't give them names. Adding to kind of the soulless feel of the circuit. Drug dealers will shoot. Okay. Oh, look at the plants at the apex of turn 19. How nice. You wouldn't want to get those caught in your brakes. Pretty sure these weren't here when Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel were battling it out for honours around this, not exactly legendary, but nonetheless Formula One circuit. Actually, this one's quite cool, this curb on the outside. To really discourage the cars from running wide at this circuit, you can see the curbs are like raised up. So if you go across them, you're really going to rumble, and look at this. You really don't want to get your car up there. Your tyres won't like that. Walking along here, it's really quite uneven. It's not comfortable underneath the feet, so if you're a Formula One driver sat basically on the floor driving the car around, that's going to be really uncomfortable. It's going to make the fillings in your teeth fall out if you have any. Now turn 20. Not a particularly remarkable one either, look. Almost 90 degree. Valtteri Bottas would have liked it, I guess. I don't think he raced in 2012 actually. Oh look, something else abandoned, some building over there. And another one. Welcome to Spain. I mean, this kind of shanty town in the middle. There's even a car over there, it looks quite big. It's quite a community, I can see two people over there, and I'm not really sure I want to go over and say hi. It might be a little bit dodgy. Especially when they put up, you know, kind of these fences around. Makes you think that they don't really want anybody poking their nose around in their business, so I think we'll leave them to it. Not like in Dole, when I went up and spoke to that woman. I must admit, I wasn't expecting it to be quite like this. There's a gang of men. I presume they're all homeless or doing some kind of dealings. This is actually starting to feel a bit dodgy now. I wouldn't mind a Formula One car to get me out of here. They seem to have things. They have bikes, for example. Maybe they steal them. Wow, just look at this. A big painting of a deer. Incredible. I mean, what's it doing here? How's it ended up here? Very, very strange. You live with what you can, I guess. So here we are back on the circuit at turn 21, 22. Oh, there's a guy over there having a wee. Wow, and just look at all this crap strewn over here. Clothes, drawers, pillows. And turn 22. What do you reckon the guys behind me put as their address? Turn 18, turn 19 or turn 20? A load of smashed glass, I guess, from a car, not a Formula 1 car. Formula 1 cars don't have glass. Now we're into the last few corners before we get to the pit straight. And wow, look at this house. I wonder if they had a good view of the race. They probably put a grandstand up so they couldn't see and made them pay for a ticket. Looks pretty abandoned anyway, apart from the top floor. The lower floor, not so nice. Right, I'm not sure how I'm going to get out from here. Maybe through there, but let's have a quick look at turn 24. The penultimate turn on the circuit. Oh wow, look here to keep people out. There's a glass. Shredded glass just put on the top of the wall. Very nice. Oh, and some Russian graffiti, Daniel Kvyat fans, I'm sure. Or what's his name? Petrov at the time, wasn't it? Wow, look on the outside of turn 24. Not sure I can even get through here. Yeah, this looks a bit of a mess. I'm going to have to find another way around. Alright then, there seems to be a gap in the fence there. Let's do it. Alright, through here. Oh, this is fun, isn't it? Look, right. How are we going to get up here? Put you down for a moment, camera. Right, I'm up. And there we go. We've just jumped through turn 24 at the Valencia Formula 1 street circuit. Let's see if we can find turn 25, the final corner on the circuit, this kind of tight left-hander onto the pit straight, which although tight, wasn't a very good overtaking opportunity either. You can see it crosses over the road here. And we're actually back right next to that complex where I told you about Mark Webber's crash. Just so you know why I put my mask on, okay, I'm not near anybody, but the police here in Spain can be quite zealous with the masks. And I don't really fancy a hundreds of euro fine. Here's the inside of turn 25, the final corner on the circuit. And here's the pit lane entrance just up here. So this would have been the start-finish straight. Look, you can see one of the grid slots here. Back row of the grid, this is where I would have been. So pit entrance, over there you're in the pit lane, here you're on the starting grid. Unfortunately, this might be the closest I ever get to a Formula 1 starting grid. And I imagine the grid slots are much bigger now because the cars are much bigger. And you see this yellow part here? That's to help the driver line up after they do the warm-up lap. The driver needs a little marker so that they know where to put their tyres. Just over the cockpit, they know that once they can only just see that line, then that's where they've got to stop. And so the pits would have been housed in this kind of like port storehouse. And it's amazing actually how small the pit lane is. I was in Baku a couple of years ago. Pretty much, yeah, exactly 2 years ago. And the pit lane there was absolutely massive. So I guess the facilities needed to host a Formula 1 race have really gone up. And this would have been the McLaren pits, where Lewis Hamilton at the time, these are probably Hamilton's tyre marks. Look. Boiled onto the ground all these years later, 9 years later. There's a car behind me trying to run me over. Pastor Maldonado. It's amazing to see just how close the grid slots are. So they do all that work on a Saturday just to be a few meters ahead. Obviously those few meters make a big difference come the end of the race. And here we go, so this is second position on the grid, and then just on the other side of the road here, you've got pole position. And it's actually on the main road. There we go, pole position. And the start and finish line. Almost completely gone. I can tell you as well, the circuit, it's about 5 kilometers long, and to do the whole thing, not including the stoppages and stuff, cumulatively, probably took me about an hour and a half, I reckon. Oh, and for those of you who will be wondering where Alex went, he's an English teacher. He had to go off and teach a little bit this afternoon, so I did the track walk all by myself. He's Spain's best online English teacher, so if you're looking for one, native speaker, very, very good, huge good reviews, works by himself, so you don't have to do any silly academy fees or anything like that. Get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with him if you want to improve your English, online of course. Well guys, I enjoyed making this one as a Formula 1 enthusiast. Nice little walk around the circuit, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys, from the start finish straight at the Valencia Formula 1 circuit. Take care.